Welcome to the Fashion Translator. I'm Claire, your host. Together we explore how AI and innovation are reshaping the fashion industry through creativity, technology, and global partnership. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Aleksandra Sivokoneva, Creative Director at Mana Fashion, a hub dedicated to connect South Florida's fashion professionals, aiming to empower designers to collaborate, showcase, and grow their creative work. Aleksandra, thank you for joining me. Could we start by introducing yourself and sharing what led you to Mana?
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Claire, for having me here today. So I'm the creative director of Mana Fashion. The organization has been around for about 4 years. We're going to have our anniversary in the coming months. I can't believe time flies so fast, but we're so excited about the work that we do and the value we provide to the community. As far as my personal background, I actually started as a designer and I worked in New York City supporting creative vision of brands like Marissa Webb, Alexis, and Monique Luthier. So the brands that I designed for were more of like a high contemporary price point market. And then pandemic happened and then the design world shut down and everybody was put on hold or laid off. And it was such a weird and at the same time pivotal moment for a lot of the industry, right?
Yeah.
In that moment, I decided to explore something new. So I moved to Miami. At that point, Miami didn't really have the fashion industry the way it is in New York City or London, Paris, Milan, and so on. But there's definitely a lot of creatives here. And as I was here, I started to discover that and meet a lot of really interesting people. But then I realized that there needs to be some sort of infrastructure to be in place to create a real sense of the community, the fashion community and the industry. And then I've spoken with Mr. Mana, who is the founder of Mana Group, Mana Common, Mana Fashion, Mana Tech, all of those divisions. And he has offered me the job to spearhead the creative direction of the organization, along with a couple of other members of the team. And we started little by little.
That's interesting. And what would you say is the soul of Mana Fashion? Like you mentioned, there's many divisions, many moving parts. When we think about the one you're leading, what would you say is the core mission?
I would say the community. I think for Mr. Mana himself, and maybe I should actually introduce a little bit about him as well, because
of course, definitely.
An important figure in Miami and the fashion division as well. He's all about the community. We are all about the community. It's a community at the core of our values. So Mr. Moish Mana, he moved to New York and built himself up as an entrepreneur from moving company to then real estate development. He was one of the first people that went into the meatpacking district and really transformed the meatpacking district into a fashion hub, right? With Milk Studios. He founded and invested Milk Studios, which is the most iconic fashion space in New York City as a whole. And then he created the largest art center out of Jersey City in the country. From then, he came to Miami, I would say a little more than 10 years ago, maybe 12, 15 years ago. And he started acquiring chunks of land, starting with Wynwood. And then now, I don't know how familiar you are with Miami, but now Miami's art district is located in Wynwood. And he really transformed what that looks like, essentially developing from nothing. And then about 6 years ago, pre-pandemic, he came into downtown and he started acquiring a lot of land. He now has over 72 properties in downtown alone. And he wanted to revive this district because there's so much history. It was such an iconic center for fashion and manufacturing. And yes, he has buildings, but fashion is very important because of his background. He really loves supporting creative and artists and provide them with services and opportunities. But to preserve that history that used to be so important for U.S. economy, he wanted to create a fashion hub here in Flagler, where it used to be, which is where we're located. We have one building. It's called the Biscayne Building. It's a historic building with over 100 years history. And there we are creating an ecosystem, office spaces for the fashion industry, event venues. Besides that building, there's a lot of other properties. We have retail stores available. If we have a brand that's interested in doing a brick and mortar, that's available as well. And little by little, offering through real estate the support of the community. And then there's other pillars, and we can get into it a little bit more.
So basically, we're talking about like an A to Z space where you can have all of it all connected together for the designers.
Like some of the spaces in the building are co-working spaces. So you don't have to come into large scale floor plan. You can have a small office within the creative suite, and that this also opens door for collaboration.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity for everybody to connect, exchange, and then brainstorm and grow together as a community. I do believe we're stronger as a community in this as designers. If we're talking about background and history, there's a lot of opacity and it is a competitive landscape, we're not going to lie, but it doesn't mean that it has to be the law of the jungle either. I feel that things have changed so much that things that were able to stay secret back in the days, today it won't. It's not anymore an era of secrecy. I think it's more an area of collaboration and to put all of our strength together, and while still maintaining our identity and our individuality. And of course, not everything can be out of the open, but I do feel the fashion industry is ready for more connection.
Absolutely, especially in emerging fields like Miami. New York, of course, is very different. You have already established big players, right? They don't need necessarily to be so open to the community. Although I do believe that there's such a power when you collaborate and you exchange ideas and connections and services. But I think Miami, because there was no central place for the community to be, it's very important to rely on your community to connect and collaborate. And I think that's where we come in.
Could you walk us through a bit what it looked like for an emerging brand that would like to join Mana Fashion?
Right now, we have about 26,000 people in our network. It doesn't only include Miami, but also Florida as a whole, South Florida as a whole, because we do have nearby towns and cities that have fashion community based out of Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Boca. There's a lot of retail stores and companies headquarters located there as well. But essentially, how they can get into the community, we have our website, which is manafashion.com. There's a button there on the homepage. Join the community, you click, you fill out the form. It's very brief, just asking basic information as well as what category of the business that you are. And then from there, going to be in the know of all the news, any opportunity, any collaboration, upcoming project, any informative sessions that we're holding, any pop-ups that we offer, B2B services that we offer. You'll be in the know. We send out emails quite frequently, at least weekly, just because of the amount of things that are happening in our community and our organization. You can also DM us on social media. Mana Fashion Services, our Instagram. And yeah, we're pretty easy to get in touch with. We also have an incredible community group chat. It's Mana Fashion group chat with over 350 people in the group chat. And then everybody shares that as a tool to connect, to announce news, whether they're launching a new collection or they're having an event or a photographer is looking for a studio space or a model is looking for work. And it's one channel where people can connect and find ways to exchange ideas.
You mentioned Instagram. Is that the platform that has the most traction for you?
We tried everything. We've tried TikTok. We are on Threads. We are on Pinterest. Instagram seems to be the one tool and channel that we have the most following and the most engagement. So yes.
Definitely these days. For fashion, I feel it's a major one. It's a common denominator.
Yeah, I do believe Pinterest is a strong platform for creatives in the fashion industry. That includes designers, that includes photographers, and so on. I do think that's a space where we can reach our audience. So I do believe it's a great tool.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Pinterest.
And I use Pinterest myself almost daily. So
me too. It has so many different facets of like how you can use it and how you can leverage it for trend research or to have a library of image of ideas that you can pull from when you need. It's also a great platform. So what would you say that are some of challenges that your team faced that were turned into growth and that really helped elevate Mana Fashion through the journey?
So the organization has been growing really steadily since the inception. Before, when we started, it was all about networking and really trying to identify who is in our community and doing a lot of those type of informative events, networking events. But then as we grew and grew, we started to realize where are the holes? How can we fill the holes? What does the community really need? So last year, we've launched two resources for the fashion industry on the B2B level. One of them is the Deep Fashion Showroom, which takes the emerging brands, emerging talents that are from South Florida or even Latin America, because we have connections there as well. And we offer them offer them retail presence, placement in boutiques and stores across America and even Europe, because we do Paris Fashion Week market in October. And then the second service that we've launched, which was only about 3 to 4 months ago, it's called Mana Fashion Fabric Showroom, which is the only B2B fabric showroom in Florida, where we offer about 12 mills from all over the world, including Europe, Asia, Latin America, to offer that wholesale fabric resource to our industry designers and sourcing teams here. So they don't have to go to New York. They don't have to go to Europe to source. We can provide those services here. And so because now we have those two major pillars in the business that needs teams of their own, that's running everything else that we normally do, then the team is just very small. It's a good problem to have.
Yes, that's true.
But the challenge more of how do we manage everything and the growth rate with such a small team, and we wear multiple hats. Everyone is responsible in multiple areas, and that's great because you learn a lot and you grow. So I would say that's the biggest challenge for us.
And actually, like managing resources and time, if you think about these two new projects that you mentioned, I think both of these have a lot of potential of growth even within themselves. I feel there's a lot that can be done in the sourcing, and even these two spare could grow. So there's so many options of exploring expansion.
Exactly. Yes. I think it all takes time. I think it all takes really hard work and really connecting to the industry, but we're here to support them and provide those services.
And what would you say when it comes to running the business? Which area has most of your focus right now?
So I've always overlooked like the marketing, the creative element of it, programming, event planning, PR, content, and so on. Now we have those two new pillars, and I'm personally more invested into the fabric showroom because we have to divide a little bit. So the fabric showroom, especially because I'm a designer myself, I truly felt invested and compelled to help the design communities with this service. So I invest a lot of my time to find the best of the resources, the best of trims and fabrics and suppliers and manufacturers. While I'm attending trade shows, discovering online the platforms and websites where we can garner all of the information and reach out. And it's a lot of cold outreach, emails, calling, and so on. So it's a lot of work and takes a lot of time. Yeah, I would say that. And all of the event planning and activations, because we do events within the two showrooms. We just hosted the mills. It's called Solstice out of Paris, out of France. Actually, it's one of the most iconic lace mills with so much heritage and history. They support all of the luxury brands in Europe and North America. And so it's a great honor to have them in our fabric showroom, which is very exciting.
It is.
Yeah, they came in and they did a presentation, and we invited our designers and sourcing teams to meet with the CEO of the company and then facilitate business. That's the idea. Business, and then the designers get the support. And so those are the type of events we host in the fabric showroom. And then the Biscayne showroom, we do stylist events where we invite local stylists to showcase our newest brands and collections so they can pull for editorials or celebrity client that might need to attend a red carpet event and so on. And so the showroom serves them. And then we do events geared towards retail buyers because we're trying to create a buying community, which is something very niche and needed. And we've done already so far 2 buyer events where we've done a dinner with 16 people. We co-hosted this dinner with NBC6 anchor Kristen Sanchez, who helped us pull things together, and it was great. And then Miami Fashion Week is another one of our collaborators and partner. And we did a buyer dinner or a buyer luncheon with the retail buyers. And now we're working on the next one, which is very excited. It's coming up in about a month. So that helps to get the buyers in the space, show them the brands that we have in the showroom, hopefully do business as well, and then have fun. Always want to make sure that everybody is having a good time.
Yeah, there's exciting things coming up. Now you mentioned these buyers, these events, things that are upcoming on short term, if we want to say. If we look broader, if we think about the next 3 to 5 years, what is your vision for where you'd like to take Mana Fashion?
That's a great question. what success looks like to us is to really have a thriving fashion industry here in Miami, to have more boutiques, to have more designers. We now have about 3 fashion schools that are based here in the Miami metropolitan. That offers design programs from 2-year to 4-year programs and so on. And so we want to keep those designers and fashion professionals here in Miami instead of them going to New York, for example. So that's why we're working so hard to offer those services and spaces for them to stay here, because Miami is a wonderful place to be. The weather is great. There's so many opportunities. So we really want them to be here. And so for the industry as a whole to be successful, to have more brands, to have more stores, to have more services, to have more headquarters based here. Not a lot of people know, but we have LVMH headquarters for Latin America is based here. We have other luxury brands like Tiffany's, Bulgari headquarters are located in Miami. Now I know Dolce & Gabbana is looking to open their headquarters for Latin America as well here. I think that's where the industry is going towards in the next few years, and we're here for it. And I think also to really amplify the Mana Fashion mission globally and be really known for that organization that helps the fashion industry in many ways, like CFDA, for example, in America, or British Council of Fashion. So we really would be the one that connects the fashion industry in America, covering the South Florida, but also connecting Latin American fashion industry and talent to the North America and helping them to facilitate business of fashion here.
There's a lot to explore. And we'll be sure to keep an eye and to keep looking at what's going on for Mana Fashion and to make sure to follow. For the listeners that want to stay in touch, all the link and handles will be in the bio. Aleksandra, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Claire.